What's going on, everybody? Today is April 10th, 2024. You're listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And then because today is Wednesday, that means that we are going to be talking about all the latest AI breaking news. We've got Jyunmi, Robert, Andy, and I'm Brian. And like we do this every Wednesday. If this is your first show with us or you haven't heard one of our Wednesday shows, we try to look at all what we think is interesting AI topics, news stories, interesting little tidbits. They come from all over the place and over the last 7 days, and then we discuss them on the show. The fun part, though, is that we very, very rarely know what the other co-hosts are going to bring to the conversation. So we are usually learning and finding out about new AI stories and interesting things along with you, which makes for great conversation. So that's what we have going on today. As always, I like to start off by asking who's got that burning story that they feel like, you know what, this has got to be first because it's super interesting. Who's got that story this week?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Andy, tell us, Andy.
Jyunmi, you go ahead.
Okay, well, there's a lot of little stories that all have the same theme, and that is Google and their Cloud Next 2024 conference that's going on right now. And so ahead of that, they released a bunch of news about all the kinds of wonderful things that Google's doing to catch up with everybody else. Nah. So I'd like to open up with a couple of Google specific news. So one is they released a couple of models, generative AI models. One is called Max Diffusion. They quietly released that in February, but that's now being touted as part of their overall package. And that's essentially a collection of reference implementations for diffusion-based models like Stable Diffusion and things like that. The other one is Jetstream. And so that's a new engine for specifically on the text generating models. So between the two of them, they're all accelerators. So Jetstream's supposed to offer 3 times higher performance per dollar for models like Gemma and even Meta's Llama. Then if we move on, what I found a little more interesting, because it's a little closer to home, is there's the new product, Google Vids. So Vids is essentially their attempt at creating an AI-assisted video creator. So it will take your marketing copy and it'll apply a preset voice, and then it'll take your visuals and it'll jam it all together for you. Nothing particularly innovative there, but it's Google doing it, right? So we're expecting more integration with their Workspace and other things like that. There's a little announcement that they have moved Gemini 1.5 Pro into Vertex AI for public review. So that's a nice little move. So Vertex AI is their big product, their cloud-based product, like AWS's, cloud services and other things like that. So enterprise level organizations can really start building out some stuff. Speaking of Vertex AI, they introduced an agent builder. So this is supposed to be a no-code solution to help you build AI agents in Vertex. I would really love to have had Carl on here today to see if he had any lovely experience with Google there. And then they're also talking about monetizing their AI offers. So they had a couple of new subscriptions for $10 a month to offer some Workspace add-ons. So one was adding an AI component for meetings and messaging, so that it would, transcript, summarize all of those benefits in Google Meet and things like that. And interesting, the second one is an interesting add-on, which they're touting as AI security. So for an extra $10 a month, this this feature will help admins, workspace admins, identify files and folder structures and access items on their in their workspace for potential sensitivity and things like that. That one interests me the most because number one, it seems to be just a monitoring kind of thing. It can scan everything apparently you can scan everything that you got, identify, this is the ones that are the most, here are the holes, and you can go ahead and plug them. I'd really like to see it in action to see if it's, worth the add-on, or is this simply, at $10 extra a month, is this just cutting down the assessment process that any cybersecurity person that would go through when they set up their system. So we'll see. And they're taking another swing at generative AI imagery with Imagen 2, which is supposed to be better. How it's better? It's tied in with Vertex AI. But that's all that's being really revealed at this point. I'm sure if there's anybody who's at the actual Cloud Next conference, they might be able to get a little hands-on. I don't know. And some other minor ones is Google Workspace is going to be adding voice prompting to Gmail and tabs and docs and things like that. So it would that should help with productivity and things like that. But that's pretty much all I saw in the big
the big one though. There's a major one there that's Code Assist, which is going up against GitHub Copilot.
Yeah,
so
true.
GitHub Copilot has been the for engineers and developers, the major player out there for AI assisted coding. And then we got the news about the agentic one, which is Devin. But just in terms of in-console assistance to engineers, Microsoft has had GitHub, and GitHub is a repository for all kinds of things. So now Google is offering Code Assist, which will probably, rival and or match or exceed the capabilities of GitHub Copilot.
We can hope. Yes.
Yeah.
Case in point, Google is, that's a lot of stuff coming out. We're not surprised to see what Google is putting out there. And, I think these steps towards, the Google Drive, the Google Suite, these kind of things, plus the coding, it's encouraging. I mean, Scale, our company uses Google Drive. That's sort of where our data lies, and it's not the best solution right now. We certainly know it can get better, so it'd be really interesting to see over the next couple of months how they drastically improve that business side of Google. Just so I could do, maybe it's a voice search, maybe it's just a natural language search. Beth was talking about this, and I can just say, hey, I need you to go look for, this specific string of words, or I need you to use semantic search to look beyond just the words and the keywords and really bring me back everything that's relevant to the search criteria I had. And that's something we know can come down the line, and it's kind of missing right now, but I'm definitely looking forward to it when it can just bring me back all of the relevant content associated with maybe that search or whatever it is. So it's exciting. It's exciting. All right, what else we got?
I've got some hardware stuff, some hardware news. I actually missed this in the Google, the Google announcement. They announced a new ARM-based CPU that's specifically built for AI. Intel has said that second quarter is when they're planning to have access to their new chip that they announced a little while ago, a few months ago, about to compete with the H100s from NVIDIA. And they say their accelerator will give you even 50% more performance in certain training functions and things like that. So on the hardware wise, they have access to that. Speaking to what you were talking about, Brian, I didn't realize this, but there's a question about Google and how it trains on documents, right? Because right now it will train on certain of your documents that are accessible. So I was reading this one article that was talking about the Google confirmed that they only train on publicly available Google Docs. So
if I share the link or
so if it's on a website in a public domain, but this got me to thinking, like, how many Google Docs are shared that way, right? If it's in some sort of public forum, it's not that you don't have to worry about if you share it within your own email. You don't have to worry about if you share it within your own company, and it's not just anyone with link. It's anything that's public facing, like a website and things like that. But I remember when Dropbox was first introduced, it had a really nice feature of it sort of act as a CDN for your file system. So you could integrate that within sharing. So I'm really curious to see how many Google Docs use that function in websites and stuff like that, to see if there's if that's a high percentage or not.
Eddie, what you got?
All right. Well, I want to talk about Apple. So Apple recently announced their Realm. It's what Realm is, RE, then capital ALM. It's a database, basically, and it manages data really efficiently with low power, and it can handle visual items really well, can reconstruct the screen in this database and convert it into a text-based representation for faster processing and so on. So we talked very briefly about Realm, but this week they also announced the release of a multimodal LLM called Ferret UI. Now, Ferret UI has the ability to look at the user interface of mobile displays. So this would allow Siri to comprehend and interact with on-screen elements. So and by the way, it's been trained on tasks like icon recognition and understanding what's on the screen. So it's a data set management system called Realm, plus this Ferret UI that together creates the right platform for delivering AI directly on your phone. So you can just feel in the combination of those two announcements, Realm last week and Ferret this week, that they're marching very swiftly towards providing the iPhone and the iPad and Macs, etc., with a combination of tools that are capable of operating locally and in a memory-friendly way. Without requiring you to access the cloud largely, right? So this is all going to happen right on your phone. And that's really amazing. And it's going to change the game a lot in terms of the devices that we talked about yesterday. We talked about gadgets, including the AI Pin and R1 from Rabbit. Those things depend on their cloud infrastructure to do that. It could well be that AI in the hands of Apple is converging on a time when you have your personal assistant right on your iPhone and it's right in your pocket. So I thought that was really good. Shifting,
can I comment on that really quick? Because we don't talk about one particular Apple product a lot because it doesn't come up in AI, but that's Apple TV. I don't know about everybody. I actually use Apple TV all throughout my house. I have 3 of them between the back patio, upstairs and downstairs. And when you think about Siri, like, I don't really use it a lot right now, but I would if I could go to like Siri. It used Perplexity as its background, right? If I could choose something like that. And then it brought me back the answer, and Siri did that and used some of this Realm technology and stuff. But then also like this idea of personally curating maybe 3 or 4 YouTube videos that are waiting for me when I get to my Apple TV. That's like, hey, you were asking about this, and I've curated this list, and it's ready to go. And if there's like a way that Siri can kind of combine the ecosystem of different products from the Apple Watch to the Apple TV and all that, I think it's going to be. I'm really excited about that because I think it's like a missing piece within like your home automation ecosystem of all of that stuff. So I don't know if that's coming or whatever, but I don't know, Andy, when you talk about that, I'm like, oh, that would be cool in my house. I don't know what everybody thinks, but I would enjoy that.
What struck me about it was that since it was UI based and it could recognize what was on the screen, and the abstract specifically talks about whether it's in horizontal or in, or vertical and horizontal. Since it's on the UI level, wouldn't that mean then that the AI would have access to insights on any app? If it can recognize everything that's on the screen, it doesn't matter.
You got to realize they already have the back end. They already have the access to the back end and what's going on in the app and the data that's being captured. So what you're combining the back end with the user interface experience, and so the user can query the language model to interact with the interface, not just the back end data. That's the big unlock. This is absolutely huge because we've been talking about different apps that can read the screen and be able to interact with the buttons and the app's interface. That's the big unlock. But now you can do it with a language model. Now, obviously, the hope is that this is going to be a Siri interface. Like that's the new Siri that you can just ask it, and Siri's going to be LLM powered. We shall see. But back to your point, Brian, about in the home. I'm not sure if we talked about this last week because I wasn't on the Wednesday, but the AI robot. So Apple's robot. So they've taken all their money away from the car and say, we're gonna skittle that ship because we didn't decide to make the car. We're gonna throw all the money into the Apple robot. And they have 2 different versions they're pitching: one that sits on the counter, one that follows you around the house like a little lost puppy. Which again, another way Apple's trying to get into the AI game. We'll see how it goes.
Brian, to your point about Apple TV. It's referenced that the Realm database and you're adding to it the Ferret UI capabilities that are focused largely on the small UI of the phone, has been trained on the mobile, sort of offline first kind of approach. Well, Apple TV is online constantly, as your phone can be as well. But it says that data persistent database, which is a memory-friendly, object-oriented database, is going to be integrated into various platforms, including iOS, iPad, Apple Watch, and Apple TV.
There you go.
You called it. I wanted to say that the reference is there. They're definitely going to include that.
Yeah, it's good. It's interesting. I don't want to get into the other news, but it's interesting. I don't really know how popular of a product Apple TV is. I find it to be awesome, and I've used it in my house for years now. But it's like it doesn't get a lot of love at the conferences and stuff like that. They make minor updates. They go to 4K, whatever. So it'll just be interesting to see how maybe it's a tool that's had seen as far as it maybe could go, but now this new AI technology might bring it back into the fold even more so. It's just interesting. All right, I know I stopped you, Andy. You had a few more, and I want to make sure we get to Robert. Especially Robert, do you have to cut out at 30? Okay, why don't we switch over to Robert really quick? So I want to make sure we get your news stories in, and then we can always switch back.
Well, I will say that Jyunmi stole a lot of my thunder. But I because I do a similar call to some of our owners every week, and the things that I came up, I'm not sure we talked about Command R Plus, the Cohere's model last week. That's a big deal. If you're in the enterprise sector, they've been ranked pretty high, so that's an interesting model. Adobe had their conference. They have they're looking at more custom models for their users and their services, which I thought was an interesting play. And obviously they're keeping that subscription model, the Adobe Creatives Cloud, which I'm a subscriber of, and just having Firefly, I've been playing around with it with inside Adobe and Adobe Acrobat, and hasn't quite got the unlock yet. I haven't quite like leaped forward in my productivity, but I see where they're going with it, which I thought was kind of interesting. There's talks about Microsoft spending $2.4 billion in Japan building out their AI infrastructure there, which is an interesting news snippet. Stable Audio 2.0 came out, which if anybody's played with that, that's pretty fun. Has anybody played with that yet by any chance?
No.
Okay, here. I'll share my screen because I was playing with it and I thought it was Chrome tab, no window. Yes. Shoot, here it is. Okay. So let's do so what is interesting about Stable Audio is that you can upload sound, but more importantly, you can actually wait, hold on a second. You can make noises. So you're gonna hate this, Brian, since you're a guitarist, but you can basically say you can do a sound like whistle, right? And it's convert that to electric guitar.
Sure.
So you have like these input vocals like this guy. Can you hear that?
Now, are you sharing your tab? You got to share your tabs. You want to
okay, anyway. So there's a beatboxer that did a beat and then they changed it into a lo-fi hip hop chill hop song, right? So that's different than the other audio tools like Suno. And so you can upload sounds, you can make sounds, you can whistle, you can do a beat just that you're thinking in the car. It can convert it to a certain type of style. I've created a couple of songs on here. The cool thing also is that you can pick, you can pick, where's mine? Home. Anyway, I was going to show you mine. You can pick like certain genres like progressive house or grunge, and it can kind of align your request to that type of style. So it makes it a little bit easier to reach. All that to say, it's very much like Adobe's version of an image generator. Lots of tweaking and functionality for those music people out there. Of course, they do make you confirm that that it's not copyrighted material, so you can't upload a Taylor Swift song and then say changes to grunge.
We're just hum a song that's one of those and then turn it into an own song.
Which is like good luck. I mean, are they going to have every copyrighted song in their corpus? So if you whistled an old 60s, I don't know. But anyway, I thought it was
kind of GCD. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like those are the three most popular chords in the world. Yeah. So what are you going to do about it? Although I do think this is an untapped potential for you, Robert. You talked about you already made music. I mean, when are we going to see the combo of cooking with Robert on TikTok and the music behind it? I want the whole thing now.
I will say if you only knew, I already created intro music for most of my podcasts or my webinars that I do, and it's always 80s synth pops themed, and it's pretty cool. I think it does a good job. And so maybe I'll do one for my cooking channel. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, so moving on, and just I'll do a couple more here. Did anybody hear about Amazon getting busted?
Not Amazon.
Okay, so I thought it was interesting. Yeah. So this is kind of old news a little bit, but Amazon had this walk in the store and take whatever you want and walk out, and it charges you for it. It's all AI powered. Well, come to find out, they just scuttled that program. They're not allowing that anymore. They're changing it to you're going to scan it when you put it in your cart. So that's their new model. My point is this: it wasn't AI. It was 1,000 Indians. I say that with tongue in cheek, but there was a group of 1,000 employees in India that were watching the cameras and tracking your purchase, and then they would send you a receipt after they would track what you purchased and whatnot. There were cameras there. There was machine learning involved, but there were 1,000 employees that were watching all of the people that walked in the store. So I thought that was very interesting because they touted it as AI, but then and it's not. And I think the reason why they did that is because, we're going to say it's AI, but then we're going to actually, make it 100% AI in the coming months. And they never ended up doing it. Maybe it was harder than they thought. So maybe it was like 50% AI because machine learning was involved, but not the final purchase. There's humans involved mostly. So Anyway,
I think I had experience back in Seattle 2 Christmases ago, and you do it for the novelty of it, and then I think it would quickly wear off. So I'm not surprised to see it kind of go away. But it's Amazon, so they're going to morph this into some other ways. Case in point, same time, two Christmases ago, I went into one of their it was like their Amazon top 5 or top whatever they called it. And it was a store that had all the top stuff from Amazon in a physical store. But in there, for the first time ever, you could pay with your palm. Right? You could do a palm scanner or whatever. Those are now in my Whole Foods and my local Whole Foods down the block. So it's interesting, you see these little incubator stuff and then they kind of go away and Amazon's like, no, we're not going to do that. And all of a sudden some version of that just walk out without the human intervention will show up in Whole Foods, So it's interesting how these sort of see the path of those,
Yep. I have a couple more, but I'll leave it to Andy to just close it out.
You're on mute, maybe? We can't hear you.
Sorry, I had muted myself while typing. So I wanted to follow on your comment about Command R Plus from Cohere and just add a few little highlights. You mentioned that this is really for enterprise grade applications, and that's what Cohere is focusing on here. Command R Plus, it kind of popped up and took a commanding position in the leaderboard of the frontier models. Now, this Command R Plus LLM has been optimized for retrieval augmented generation for enterprises. So it's going to work against your enterprise data, and it has all the tools and tricks necessary to do that really efficiently and with a high degree of reasoning and capability that matches the level of Claude 3 Sonnet. Okay, and it's open source. So that's an interesting combination. It's available on Microsoft Azure AI. So if you're working in the Microsoft ecosystem, you can employ Command R Plus, and you're getting one of the top. So I wanted to just reference the leaderboard again, because this is the frontier leaderboard. Frontier models beating the ones that are really out there, the most expensive and the most capable models. Claude 3 Opus has 2 points in 1255, 2 points over GPT-4 1106 preview. So they're neck and neck. There's really indistinguishable differences there in terms of their performance metrics. But of course, there are lots of more anecdotal and personal experience differences that you're going to have between GPT-4 and Claude 3 Opus. The next one, any guesses on what's next up after those two? Bard, Gemini Pro, right? That's next on that.
Impossible. I don't believe you.
It's there. It's right on the list. And then after that, but only 4 points behind it, is Claude 3 Sonnet. And then it dropped 10 points to get to Command R Plus. And it's ahead of Claude 3 Haiku. It's ahead of GPT-4 0314.
But hey, Llama's coming out next month. We're in a couple weeks.
Llama 3. That's right. Llama 3.
And a couple of smaller versions of it too. Yeah.
Right.
And if it's any good, I'm definitely buying the Ray-Bans.
Let's pause on that real quick, because that was one of the things I was going to mention. This is from Nick Clegg last night in London. So very, very recent to now. He's Meta's president of global affairs. This is his quote on it, just real quick. Within the next month, actually less, hopefully in a very short period of time, we hope to start rolling out our new suite of next generation foundation models, Llama 3. There will be a number of different models with different capabilities, different versatilities. Sounds like Anthropic to me. Released during the course of this year, starting really very soon. And they said they haven't released how big it will be. Just for reference, Llama 2 was released, was sort of leaked, then released in July of 2023. So not quite a year, but actually coming up on it. And it was trained on 70 billion parameters. And they believe that Llama 3 will be trained on 140, so double the size to it. So just wanted to bring that up because I didn't want to skate over that. That was a very breaking news, a recent announcement from when we're doing this show. So.
Right. So to wrap it up, what we've talked about primarily here today is Google, Apple, and Meta. And we also talked about Intel and NVIDIA on the chip side.
Let's bring in Grok too. We can't forget about old Grok with Elon Musk. Elon Musk has come out with a quote. You got to love Elon Musk quotes because they're very bullish a lot of times. But this is what he said: if you define AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, as smarter than the smartest human, I think it's probably next year, within 2 years. Musk said while asked about the timeline for development of AGI. And then he goes on to say that the lack of chips and the constraint on chip production is what's hampering Grok's version 2 model. But Grok is out there, whether it's competitive or where it fits into the whole range of LLMs and stuff. Obviously, he's doing more of a play through, X, formerly Twitter. So it'll be interesting to see. But, I don't know. Grok could always come out and really surprise people. It says Musk says training the Grok 2 model took about 20,000 of NVIDIA's H100 GPUs. 20,000. That's massive. And he said Grok 3 model will beyond will require 100,000 NVIDIA H1 chips.
Oh, they'll use Blackwell for that.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put that stuff in the ocean in order to keep it cool. That's what I think. You're going to have to submerge all this. I know Microsoft worked on it. We talked about that a long time, whether people are still doing that, but they were testing submerging, right? Data centers literally right off the coast in the water because, it does kind of make sense if you want.
Well, the main reason why is because it's not in any, there's no jurisdictional laws. It's maritime laws. So if you do it out in the ocean, you're not subject to any of the countries. That's one of the reasons why they do it on a boat. So and that's also cool. Yeah.
Yeah, you can bury it in some 60 feet deep in a mountain somewhere and get, like an ambient temperature or whatever like that. But I don't know what it would do to the environment. I'm not making any claims there, but it does make sense to use water, obviously, for cooling and stuff like that. And that's going to be a major concern as more and more and more of this demand. Sam Altman has said it all the time. We're going to be our appetite and need for compute power will be like nothing we've ever seen because of AI and because what we're going to want it to do. And it's going to consistently need more and more. So, anyway. Didn't want to leave out old Elon Musk there and what he's doing with Grok and hey, AGI is only a year or 2 years away, so we can celebrate when that comes. I don't know if I believe that, but yeah, we'll see. All right, any other things, or you guys want to wrap it up?
I got one really quick palette cleanser. Spotify has released AI playlists. For me, I like this idea because sometimes I just want to listen to some music that I have not listened to before. And I just want to be able to tell it, give me some wacky, random stuff from types of music I've never heard. Go. And I don't know if anyone else will use it that way, but that seems really appealing to me.
I thought their AI DJ that they have is actually pretty good. It was pretty good right out of the box. I was impressed with it. I've used it many times in the car where you just want to get in and hit something right away. So I like it. Whether we will start seeing playlists of completely AI generated music in the future, that will be very interesting. What does that mean? Will people like it? Right now, there seems to be a bit of a cringe towards some of the AI music, but as Matt Wolf and many, many other people say all the time, this is the worst it'll ever be. So if you're like, that's not that impressive of music from Loudly or Suno or any of these, well, it will be. It will be eventually indistinguishable from a brand new written track from one of your favorite artists. So you can say, oh, boo-hoo, it doesn't have the human and stuff like that. I think in a matter of time, you're not really going to be able to tell the difference a lot of times. So that's all coming, obviously, in the music industry. All right. Listen, we'll wrap it up there. Tomorrow, we're talking about, I got to say it right, Ethan Malick's book, Co-Intelligence. I had a chance to read that last week. It's a really, really good book. I really think it has some amazing points in it. And so we want to do a show about that and give props to a well-written book that considering it's a book and it had to be written, in advance of it being published and books being made and stuff, it actually is still very relevant to what's going on. And he talks about how he went about trying to make sure that the book could not be evergreen, but stand up to the day it was released because AI moves so quick. So that's tomorrow. And then on Friday, we're doing our review of HyperWrite, but not just specifically HyperWrite, but actually getting into some of these things like commanding and taking control of your computer and on-premises computing. So that's going to be really interesting as well, because that could be a peek into what agents look like in the near future. We'll have to see. So that's what we have left for this week. Thanks to Robert, who had to jump. Thanks, Jimmy and Andy. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Till then, bye.
Aloha.